Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast by locals discussing with a little bit of edge what's going on in the South Florida real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, also the founder of Miami Condo Investing Club, and I'm here with my partner, my co-host, the moderator, no one else but Daniel Hernandez. He's a real estate advisor over at Compass Real Estate. His office is in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses as well as condos. What's going on, Daniel?
What's up, Friday? Happy Peter. Merry Christmas. Can we say Merry Christmas? Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Let's stick with happy holidays.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Oh, we're British. We're British. Probably
Ish.
shouldn't use that accent. That's cultural appropriation for anybody watching at home. So, guys, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, episode number 31. We got two of these left in the new year, in the old year. If you're just joining us for the first time today, Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, as Peter mentioned, South Florida real estate talk show. Now, there is just so much to discuss in terms of real estate. We talk policy, we talk environment, we talk education. If you were with us last week, that was a great show. Josh, how great is Josh?
Yeah, Josh was exceptional. Anybody who didn't see it, I'd highly recommend you go ahead and you take a look at it. He gave you all kinds of insight as to students, schools, but more importantly, real estate in and around and where to possibly invest your money if, in fact, you don't have kids, but maybe you want to rent out to maybe some newcomers who are looking to live close to where their kids go to school.
Yeah, shameless plug for Josh Dallenberg's company, Who Tutors. If you need a kid who needs some tutoring or you need help getting into one of these high-end schools, give them a shot. So buy, sell, hold Miami. What is that? So every week, Peter and I, and you'll see it at the bottom of your screen, we throw some articles around. We keep our fingers on the pulse pretty tightly, and we discuss these. We got you for 7 minutes on each one, more or less, but for the whole show, we got you for an hour. And at the end of each topic, we're either going to buy because we agree, we're going to sell because we disagree, or we're going to hold because we don't really know. And with that, Peter, what do you think about this whole Trump Library thing? MDC's Trump Library land giveaway is totally great for students.
You want to talk about the Grinch coming out right before Christmas? Anybody who's seen the Grinch, it's obviously the Yang to Santa Claus. Wow, what a travesty. The only thing I'm happy about is the judge who made the ruling, and I'm sure you're going to get into the details. She's elected and she's up for re-election very soon.
Yeah, coming up. So Miami-Dade College's MAGA saga continues, and if you're playing the home game, I'll start from the beginning really quick. Quick recap if you're just joining us for the first time. On September 23rd, there was a meeting from the Miami-Dade College Board of Trustees, and they voted to convey the site, 2.6-acre site, adjacent to the bay in downtown, right next to Miami-Dade College's Wolfson campus, which is home, by the way, to about 27,000 Miami-Dade College students. They decided to convey that land to the Trump Library Foundation for the future site of that presidential library. Now, how much is the college getting for this? They're getting a big fat goose egg. Big fat goose egg. $0 rupees. And our local octogenarian activist, a fellow by the name of Marvin Dunn, he's FIU, professor emeritus, professor of history. He's been around for decades. I mean, he's 85, but he's really got a bone to pick with these guys. And so he sues the college, and a Judge Mabel Ruiz, originally pauses the transfer of the Miami-Dade College site for the Trump Library Foundation in October, arguing that the deal, if it could be called that, violated Florida's sunshine laws, which require a reasonable amount of public notice. So in an epic case of CYA, that's cover your ass if you didn't know. So in an epic example of this, the board comes back and says, all right, we're going to do 1,000% compliance. We're going to re-vote on this, and we're going to give you ample notice. So they re-vote on December 2nd. What do they decide to re-vote? They decide to re-vote on Hialeah's crosstown campus out in, well, Hialeah, like 10 miles away. Yeah.
Naturally.
So 8 a.m. on like a Tuesday, and they expect nobody to show up. Lo and behold, like over 100 people show up. Some people are for it. Most of the people are against it. And after hours of people going up and talking about it, the board, surprise, surprise, unanimously votes to convey the land to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. Oh, right.
Shocking. Shocking.
And so I just, before we talk about it, I want to read an op-ed that was written by Louis Wolfson, who's the grandson of Mitchell Wolfson, the founder, one of the founders of Miami-Dade College. And because he's talking about the lost value here. And this is something you've talked about a lot, Peter, of how, these Ivy League schools have their endowments. Harvard's got billions, Yale's got billions. Well, Miami-Dade College, far cry away from an endowment like Harvard, but they have a multi-$100 million piece of dirt here. And so he did the math. Consider the property's value in practical terms. If MDC had sold the land at a very conservative valuation of $67 million, it could award over 23,000 scholarships to students for 1 year at the current tuition cost of $2,838. If instead the $67 million were invested as an endowed fund, a 5% distribution per year would support at least 1,100 annual scholarships at the current tuition cost every year in perpetuity, and this number would grow over time. And again, folks, ideologies aside, left, right, up, down, this is a bad deal. Bad deal.
It's a bad deal, and it's going to get worse. The only saving grace, and I know, Daniel, you might not necessarily agree with this, because we have a brand new mayor who is a Democrat. It is a woman. She's known as La Gringa. Because she doesn't have a lot of power, the way the city of Miami structure is set up, and this property happens to be located right in greater downtown Miami, right there at roughly 6th Street in Biscayne Boulevard, immediately south of the Freedom Tower. The only thing is, planning and zoning and the whole process through, just because you own the dirt doesn't mean you can necessarily go forward and do everything. Now, you might have the right to do it, but doesn't mean they can't drag you through and slow walk the whole process.
There was something that I saw. They need to pass a milestone. I don't know if it was a groundbreaking. They have 5 years to do so once they get the land. Was I reading that correctly?
You read that correctly. There was some sort of language in there, but typically it's all developers have to do is they just move some dirt. They bring in some earth moving equipment. They do some stuff. They do the minimal in order to qualify. Kind of like back in the day with Bob Graham, the senator, the Graham family. They used to keep a bunch of cows and cattle out on some land out there at the Big Bend. The Big Bend off of the Palmetto up in Miami Lakes. So because it was that one day or a year when the state would fly over a plane and take photographs to decide who got agricultural tax breaks and who had to pay commercial value. So that's what they used to do.
They just throw a cow out there?
Yeah. It was a certain percentage of cows versus dirt or land, and therefore they would qualify under agricultural land property taxes rather than much more expensive development rights or residential or commercial, whatever the case may be. So what I'm telling you here is, it's pretty minimal to move some dirt. It's pretty minimal to maintain a permit. It's pretty minimal to sort of reach that level. The question is, what's going to go happen when you go through the planning and zoning, given the fact we've had this abrupt change in the local political environment, which for 30 years was going one way, and now we suddenly, we pivoted, and now we're kind of going the other way. So that might be the only way to kind of jam this thing up. And who knows, maybe the market goes to shit. And if it goes to shit, maybe that delays things where it doesn't make sense to put a shovel in the ground and put up what could be 2,500 units with no parking whatsoever, with a sellout value of about $5.3 billion. And Miami-Dade County got zero for that.
Wow. So you're clearly a fan of this.
Listen, I'm a fan of Miami. I love drama. I loved our previous city commissioner base.
Yeah, what the hell are we going to talk about for the next few years?
I absolutely love all that. But what this is robbery. This is complete outright robbery. You're robbing from the community in that Miami-Dade College. And I don't know if old man Wolfson talked about it in his editorial, but what the college did is it was a feeder program. People who might have just arrived here. Keep in mind, Miami-Dade County, the population is more than 50% foreign born. People come here, they're searching for the American dream. Maybe they don't speak the language. Maybe you're somebody who's in your career and AI is changing the world and you need to get re-educated. You can't drop $100,000 to go to the University of Miami. Daniel, what'd you say? It's $3,000 a year to go to Miami-Dade College?
Roughly $2,838.
Okay, so that's an alternative. That's doable. You can learn the language. You can learn a skill. The campuses are scattered all throughout Miami-Dade County.
57,000 registered students in the county. It's one of the biggest community college, junior college programs in the country.
I mean, it's a fantastic program. Plus, everybody who is local who goes and they teach over there, they share some of the wisdom, some of the knowledge. It was
Right.
really it kind of bridges the community between those newly arrived trying to learn the language, English or whatever language you're trying to learn, as well as upgrade your skill set. So, I mean, this is just a travesty in order to put up a library. And it's not going to just be a library. There's going to be towers above it. It'll probably be a library on the bottom, carve out a little bit of space for a library, and the rest of it is all going to be towers or hotels or whatever the case may be. So it's a cash grab, and once again, the people of Miami are getting stiffed by it.
So I didn't get to the epilogue. So where I left off was they had this second vote, but that injunction had, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the processes and procedures are. I'm just getting this from the internet. But with that injunction, there was a trial date set for August of next year. Now, the state filed a challenge to that injunction, and yesterday, the very same judge, Honorable Mabel Ruiz, who allowed that injunction, approved the injunction. Again, I don't know the vocabulary. She came back and said, "Well, I don't have a leg to stand on because now that they revoted, they're not violating the sunshine laws. So, full steam ahead, guys." And Marvin Dunn, he's very active on social media for an 85-year-old man, and I want to have him on the show. Doc, if you're out there, please write back to me. I'm all in his inbox. But he says he wants to go to the Supreme Court.
He should. I mean, listen,
think
he should. 100%. And I'd encourage everybody, and I'm apolitical. I'm an NPA, registered NPA, been it from the beginning. I would just encourage everybody, our judges locally are elected. So keep that in mind next time you go to the ballot. Keep in mind the judge. And I'm not saying what the judge's ruling is right or wrong, but at some point, we are seeing basically what's going on right now in the United States with judges and listening to orders and not listening to orders. So you can't tell me it's pure and simple and stick to the letter of law, because that is the last thing we are doing right now is sticking to the letter of law. There's got to be a way to jam it up. There's got to be a way to interfere. And it's not political, but it's about taking away from a foundation, a cornerstone of what is Miami-Dade County. This melting pot, this search for the American dream, and easy, not an easy, but something you can afford potentially in order to upgrade not only yourself but the overall community. And it just kind of piss on that. And now what's going to happen when Miami-Dade College needs more funding? You know what they're going to have to do? They're going to have to go to Tallahassee. They are basically being stripped away of any kind of backstop, any kind of rainy day fund that they would have had. And that's what Dr. Padron, the one who kind of put all this forward, old man Padron, when he put this forward,
the
that's what
guy.
he was thinking. Yeah, he was thinking about this. That's what this was all about. So anybody who's seen Miami-Dade College and seen how they've sort of evolved and now to suddenly get this stripped away, almost just taken. And it's not even eminent domain, Daniel. When you do eminent domain, what happens on an eminent domain side is that the state or the government that's
they
taking
give you fair market value.
They pay you. They're not getting anything. It's goodwill. Oh, this is great. We appreciate that. Maybe they'll hang out a flag outside. Oh, thanks to Miami-Dade College for the dirt.
Yeah. So wait, you're in fact a sell on this then.
Yeah. I am a sell. I am a
pound the table, flip the table, buy, sell.
Throw that goddamn table through the window. Sell on this.
All right, moving along. Jingle bells, junk fees all the way. Peter, what's this all about?
All right, so we have a situation going on in South Florida, and a lot of this is going on nationwide. But basically, the takeaway of it is when anybody does commercial, let's say leasing, when you go and you lease a space, what's going to happen is you're going to pay the rent, and then you're going to have to pay for taxes, maintenance, and what is the other one? Management fee. So they call it a triple net. So basically, the landlord's getting the cash for the place, and you as the tenant, you got to cover everything else. Now, juxtapose that.
You got it.
Too.
You got it.
I got it on the third one. So compare that to residential. Residential, typically you go and you sign a lease. Once you sign a lease, you're going to cover your own electricity and maybe
right. You're not paying taxes. You're not paying maintenance.
No. Yeah. You're paying a premium to live in there, and the landlord's got to deal with everything else. So everybody's talking about the rental market right now. They're talking about what's going on, how expensive it is. Some people are opting to leave South Florida because of simply the cost. So we were doing some research, and we visited a number of projects of rental towers in Miami. And I am here to tell you, for the first time ever in my career, I am seeing residential rentals going towards a triple net concept. It related to rent. And what do I
Wait,
mean
what do
by
you
that?
mean? So what they're paying? They're paying taxes?
You're not paying taxes, and it's not officially triple net. But what it is it's a series of junk fees that are layered on top of your rent. That's adding a good 10 to 15% to whatever the rent is. You know how you kind of go and maybe you're buying a ticket for an event. You want to go to a sporting event or a concert or everything, and you get the price, and you're like, dude, this is a good deal. It's a little bit more than I want to spend, but it's a good deal. And then you get right at the end, and they're like, oh shit, they put a
Right,
10,
the
50%.
Ticketmaster scam.
The Ticketmaster scam. So that's what's going on right now in the rental market. In the course of doing our investigation, we found, Daniel, now listen to this. We found some rental towers besides your base rate of rent, which is about $5 a square foot per month, which is exorbitant. Besides that, you got to pay for parking. And interesting enough, it's cheaper to have your car valeted than the self park. And what does that tell you? That tells you the valet service sucks. Nobody wants it, and they don't have enough self
Well,
parking spots.
because they
But
can double park the cars. They park them one behind the other, right?
yep. And if anybody's ever been in a complex like the Icon Brickell, it's got 3 towers, about 1,800 units. You call that valet to go get your spot. Yeah, a lot of people going to work at the same time, and therefore the whole thing gets backed up. Backed up. You're riding on the elevator, it takes forever. Blah 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 blah. But Daniel, some of the nickel and diming that's going on in some of these associations, some of these rental buildings. Get this. Do you ever order anything from Uber Eats, or do you ever get anything from Amazon?
Too much.
Too much. Okay. Well, if you did, you would have to pay $50 a month for a rental fee within the Amazon
No.
room of a rental tower. $50 a month. Otherwise, they will
Oh,
not
I've
accept your
seen these.
vendors.
They're like little lockers, right?
But it's one general room. It's the room that would have been there anyways. So they're charging $50 a month. Now you can make the case, well, that's practical. Too many people are getting stuff. But at the same point, if you're charging a premium on the rent,
Yeah, yeah,
that
no,
ought to
no,
be
no, no, no.
included.
But the landlord, this is benefiting the landlord because they would have to pay someone to do this otherwise.
Correct. But $50, and if you got 300 units in a building, let's just run the numbers. 300, we're going to say 50% of the people do it. You're basically 150 units times $50. So 150 times $50 a month, $7,500 a month, basically, in order to go ahead and have your Amazon package. I'm sorry.
Damn,
Somebody's
you
calling me.
popular today, Pete.
I don't know why people are calling me, but basically that's what it would cost. $7,500 a month is what they're making their nickel and diamond people. Another thing, Daniel, you got a pet, $500 non-refundable. Pay the pet fee.
No,
You
but
got to have.
I've seen the pet deposit.
Well, no, not a deposit, not a deposit,
Oh,
an
it's
actual
non-refundable,
fee,
non-refundable.
non-refundable, and $50 a month. They call it a pet rental fee. So you got to pay for your dog or your cat, or I don't know if a goldfish has to do it, basically to be within there. Well, here's another one. The electricity in the common areas. The landlord is not covering the electricity. So when you walk in the lobby, when you walk down the hallway, when
Oh,
when
so
you're
it's
in
like
the
they got to pay a
elevator,
cam.
yep, and a tenant is paying somewhere in the vicinity of about $65 a month for the electricity in that building.
So
And so on and so on and so on.
in your investigation, you looked across the county in rental buildings, or is this tri-county?
No, this is going to be coastal. This will be east of I-95, in and
Okay,
around.
so what's the cherry on top big? So I got a $2,000 a month, say $3,000 a month rent is median rent for a one bedroom, extra 10%, extra
$5 a
300.
foot.
No,
Five
no, no. I'm
five
saying
bucks a
I'm saying
foot.
what's the extra junk fee price on
Uh,
top?
10 to 15%.
10 to 15%.
Yep.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So
So
$5 a foot. Run the numbers. $5 a foot. Typical rental is going to be 650 to one bedroom, 650 to 700. Studios are under 400. Two bed is 1,000. So at $5 a foot, add an
5,000
extra.
bucks a month.
Call
So
it 50
six
cents a
thousand bucks
foot.
a month.
Basically 6 G's a month in order to go in there. But here's the kicker. Here's how popular it is, Daniel. This will tell you how popular it is. You know how in South Florida the common approach is if you go and you rent the place, typically they're going to ask you for the first month, then they want last month, and they want a month of security.
Yeah, they
This
want
way
three
there's a
months.
yeah, there's a 2 month backstop in case something goes wrong, whatever. They got this pull. These guys now, because the market is what it is, they want $1,000 security and pay the first month. So they waived the entire second month and they've greatly reduced the
Why? Because the
security
competition's
deposit.
so high.
That's what I'm assuming. So
Well,
in
what was I
doing the
telling you?
research,
What was I telling you the
I
other
asked one of the
day?
leasing agents.
What did
Well,
they
one of the
say?
leasing agents told me that I said, well, what happens if I just piss off? What's the penalty if I don't run it for the entire year? And he said, well, there's 2 months of security, or excuse me, 2 months of rent penalty. I said, yeah, but if you got $1,000 down, good luck getting it out of me. So that is the state of the rental market. That is a snapshot. So while some people are talking about moving out, there might actually be good news coming in the fact that the rental market seems to really be softening relatively quickly. Now the pricing is still high, but again, it's high until it's not.
So anecdotal, and I think I was telling you the story the other day, but I'll tell it to the gang. So I have a client who's in a workforce housing unit, right? Young guy, making under 120% AMI, which is the average median income. For those of you playing the home game, AMI, average median income for workforce housing, you have to make between 80 and 120%. And developers can get a tax abatement for allocating units for that income level. And so 120% AMI is somewhere around like $104,000 a year. It goes up with inflation every year or so. But if you're living in one of these units and say you get a raise and it puts you over that hump, you got to move. You can't just pay more. And so my client calls me. He goes, "Hey man, I'm making a little bit more money now, and they're going to ask me to verify my income. What do I do?" So I call the property management and they say, "Hey, got the situation. Can he just pay more?" And they say, "No, he's going to have to move internally." And then I go, "Well, how much is the market rate rental for that similar unit?" She bagels on the keyboard. She goes, "It's about 1% less." And I kind of gave her like the audible Scooby face, and I thought I could have sworn that she was going to tell me that the market rate rent is 10, 20%, 25% more than the workforce housing rate. Isn't that the whole point of having the workforce housing? So that indicates to me that there is so much rental inventory hitting the market that these guys are running their models and they have to stay competitive.
Well, and staying competitive means if you go out and you look right now at a corporate landlord's properties, they're offering a free month rent if you're willing to move in. So if you go and you sign a lease, they're going to give you a 13-month lease. So you basically get one free month of rent in order to move in. That's how soft the market is starting to get. Now, why is that important? Because as the rental market comes down and as these REITs and these corporate owners, if they need to generate cash flow, just like a restaurant runs a happy hour in order to kind of keep the lights on to get some money coming, who's that going to affect? That's going to affect the individual unit owner and or maybe somebody's got a house and they're looking to rent it out. So as the big guys go sideways or they pull back and they need to cut prices, that is going to trickle all around the South Florida rental market as well as the condo prices. It'll drag them down because a lot of investors will buy based on what kind of rent can they generate.
Right. All right. We got to move on. Junk fees all the way, buy, sell, hold, Pete.
They are everywhere. So I'm a buy on the fact they're everywhere in terms of do I think they hold? I would be a sell on whether or not they hold. So
it's sort of I don't it's giving a bad representation of what the market is because I don't know what the real rent is. If somebody's paying an extra 10 or 15% on top of their rent, then I mean they have to pay that to live there. It's like living without a cell phone. I know Peter lives without a car, but you can't be in society without a cell phone. You can't live in an apartment without paying garbage chute fees.
but think of it this way. Condo hotels were the predecessor to Airbnb or home sharing systems right now. So if ever you went into a condo hotel or if you go in an Airbnb type of setup right now where you have a property management company that's going to oversee it, who's making the money? The group managing it, not the guy who
Right.
owns it. So I would say they're simply taking that model and the real play is managing this stuff rather than owning this stuff because we're in a cycle, I think, of downward pressure on rental numbers.
So junk fees, they're everywhere. But as Peter said, I'm a sell. I'm a sell. Sell, 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 sell. Miami Beach's super yacht side eye, and that's this week's episode, our latest iteration of rich people being mean to each other. So, so you want to talk some drama, Peter?
Tell me.
So, and I'm not going to name addresses. I'm not going to name names. You're going to have to internet sleuth this by yourself, guys. But Peter, you ever had a really really tough week, and you just want to go back to your $20 million house on North Bay Road, pop a weed gummy, and just look at the sunset, and then you hear a on your door, and hey neighbor, I live next door. Hey, listen, can you just sign this piece of paper for me? And you're kind of woozy, and you're like, yeah, great, sure, sign the paper. And the next morning you wake up in a stupor and you say, wait a minute, did I just give this guy permission to build a 100-foot dock perpendicular to the seawall? And so you text him and you say, hey man, didn't mean to do that, but you did. And now house has been sold. New owner arrives. Obviously, they didn't see the vessel that was parked there when they were being shown the house. And lo and behold, there's an 88-foot, 90-foot yacht parked perpendicular to the seawall. So your wide open view looking west, looking at the skyline, is now impaired by this big freaking boat. And this sort of seems just, I know, guys, this is little neighborly fighting, but when you're dealing with folks who have this much money, they will fight tooth and nail to get their way. And so one person wants his dock there, the other person definitely does not want the dock there. So they're going to Durham with this.
Nice.
They've had, and guys, search for it on the internet. I'm not going to bring it up, but search for it on the internet. They made virtual videos of the dangers of a jet ski coming around the bend, potentially hitting the boat. I mean, they're coming up with every excuse. Fact of the matter is, somebody signed a piece of paper and allowed for this, impaired or not. There was some questions about they notarized it after the fact, which, I mean, even I know, not being a lawyer, is a big no-no. You can't have something signed in November and then have it notarized in February. And that sort of seems to be the big argument for the plaintiff. But the defendant's attorney seems to think, hey, document's a document. We got it approved. But the city or the county revoked the permit. So right now, this guy who's got this 80-foot yacht, I don't know what it costs to park an 80-foot yacht somewhere else, probably $10,000 or $15,000. What a pain in the ass. And I love how folks like to listen, they love to watch Succession, watching rich people do bad things. Not saying anybody's being bad, but come on, it's kind of ridiculous.
You want to talk about NIMBY to the max. NIMBY is
that
not
is
in my
super
backyard.
NIMBY.
Once I get mine, I don't want anybody else doing anything like that because I already claim my my space. Listen, if somebody has a waterfront property, you might not like how tall the yacht is or the ship or whatever, but that's what you signed up for. You want to see the marina, you want to see the boats, you want to see all that stuff. And whether you signed it or you didn't, if one person has access to the water and the other person doesn't, the ones on the water are going to be able to really take it all in. And if you really wanted that view,
these are two side-by-side waterfront homes.
Oh, these are side by side, so it's actually overlapping.
Yeah, so I guess the guy's seawall isn't long enough to park the boat parallel to the seawall, so they had to build a mooring dock perpendicular to the seawall so it juts out into the bay.
Ah, so there I would have to go with the plaintiff because the plaintiff, are they getting compensated? Does the same thing about them getting compensated?
I don't think so.
So if they're not getting compensated, basically somebody's squatting.
No, if that boat is parked there, the value of that property is coming down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. Boy, that's a fascinating type of story. Kind of see. Wow. How does that play out? I would imagine, and I don't know how far it goes out in terms of like what portion of the bay you actually control.
They got a permit from the county. They just needed to get permission from their neighbors, and that's why he went next door, knocked on this woman's door, and she signed off on it, impaired, but she did it, right?
Yeah.
The notary after the fact thing is a little questionable, little scummy, but yeah, they're fighting it. So I guess we'll have to talk about this in weeks or months down the line when we get a conclusion for the gang. But but I'll be keeping my eyes on this one.
Well, I would say to the defendant, listen, give the person some cash, give them something of value to kind of make them go away, because both of them are going to dig in.
Well,
They're gonna run it out, and the only people going to make money is those on the professional service side. I like when I do expert witness work for deals, you go through this whole long process. The only people making money are those that are like support service,
only
if you
people that
will.
are happy about it are the lawyers and
Yeah,
Peter.
exactly. And then they're ultimately going to settle. There's going to be a settlement at the end. There's going to be a settlement. Write the check right now. Resolve it right
So
now.
so the woman who signed that impaired, she
Yep.
sold the property. She's gone. I think
So
the
how
property
is it
traded.
binding?
I think well because she signed it and then she sold it and they built it all during that transitional period. So she sells this property for I think something like $18 million, and then the new person buys it and moves in, but the vessel wasn't there yet, and so this
Yes, yes,
vessel shows up and it's like, what the fuck is this?
yes. Oh, this is going to get nasty. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, this is gonna be
This is going
great.
to, I mean, like one thing you could do is you can like, I don't know, maybe like chum the water as assuming it's okay. You can put in there whatever you want to do. You can set up on your property things that maybe have a nice aroma. Maybe set up, you can compost. You can do a whole
Oh,
variety
a
of
nice
things.
compost. It's organic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Here's some
nice
ideas.
compost, right? Just think. I mean,
Maybe
dude,
maybe turn your speakers towards the boat.
this is gonna this is gonna be like War of the Roses. Remember that movie from what, the 80s or
Yeah,
90s or
yeah, yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
was?
yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be awesome. We're all gonna know both sides. This is
Well,
gonna be the type of
listen, the Herald's reporting on it. Shit, Peter and Daniel, it's filtered down to us. We're hearing about it. This is great. That puts us up on
oh.
time. Miami Beach's super yacht side eye. How can I not be a buy on this? Like,
After the change in the Miami governmental bodies, the elected leaders, and I was just saying I'm going to be bored. I got to be a buy on this because this might
what else are we gonna
replace.
talk about if Joe Blow's gone?
I'm a buy. I'm a serious solid buy. I like this one.
All right. Is the Florida insurance shock over? Peter, you had somebody on your podcast yesterday who was giving you some really interesting numbers.
Yeah, I do a podcast 4 o'clock every day of the week, and what I did yesterday
This
was
is
a
your favorite one,
podcast.
though, right?
Oh no, of course, this one is a blast. I
Break
love
my
this one.
heart.
I love no, come on, of course. I interviewed a guy who's a commercial insurance agent. He works for a company based out of Boca Raton. He used to do it up in Manhattan. He was doing condo associations up in Manhattan. He came down here about 2020, 2021, somewhere right in there. Basically, some of the people came down with the pandemic. And he's representing 50 condo associations in the state of Florida, primarily in South Florida. And what he said is prices are collapsing on the premium side for condo insurance. And there's three factors. Factor number one is we didn't get a hurricane season last year, so that's important. Factor number two is because of the structural integrity reserve studies and the milestone inspections. Remember, these are the inspections that are mandated now as a result of what happened in Surfside in 2021 when 100 people died, nearly 100 people died, and $1 billion settlement was paid off to the families of the victims. So the work is starting to get done, and the way the insurance companies look at it is if you are in the process of getting something fixed, they're going to work with you because they're going to assume you're going to go forward. And now you got some teeth behind it because of all the legislation. And then the third part is suddenly all these new insurers are starting to flood into the market. Now, not all of them are going to be, and this could get a little bit confusing. Basically, there is affiliated and there's unaffiliated. Let me put it in my terms and hopefully it's conveyed over. And I'm not an expert in insurance. So if you are affiliated, that's the equivalent of walking into a bank, seeing an FDIC sign and saying, okay, my money is safe up to a certain amount because the Fed's a backstop it. So the way it was explained to me is if you walk in and you get an affiliated insurance company, it's effectively backstopped by the state of Florida's insurance fund. So if something goes sideways, there's going to be some money. Might not be the entire
When
thing,
you
but there
say the
will be
state
some
of
money.
Florida's insurance fund, that has nothing to do with Citizens, right? That's a
It has
different thing.
nothing to do with citizens. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's some kind of backstop. Now, if your building's in such disrepair, you might be forced to, just like if you can't get a loan for a condo or a house, you're forced. If an FDIC bank won't give you that mortgage, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to private sector. You might end
Sure.
up with hard money loan. So that's where you move into these unaffiliated insurance. Remember, affiliated means the equivalent. I walk in, there's a backstop by the state, it's signed off on. The unaffiliated is kind of like dealing with a Wall Street fund where their terms are going to be different, so on and so forth. These guys are more of risk takers
But
with
a
the
lender
unaffiliated,
will accept either.
as long as it has insurance, as long
Okay.
as it meets the insurance. Now the other thing that was mentioned. So this gentleman says rate premiums have already come down they're going to be down ultimately 25 to 40%. So I asked
Wow.
them 25 to 40%. Many people might say it's a great deal, but others will say you were ripping them off all that time.
Yeah, why? Well, there was less competition in the market too. What was the latest numbers? It was something like 10 or 12 extra insurers, private insurers, have come in the market in the last year.
I didn't get into that with him, and I just don't know. But what he says, everybody's coming into the market now because you're getting some visibility on these condo buildings because of the inspections being done. Daniel, remember we were talking about once you can actually analyze all these buildings, all different facets, it'll become a much more competitive market. Think Carvana, if you will, for cars,
Sure.
where you bring. Yeah, so we're already starting to see the signs of it. So then I asked him, I said, well, what about going forward? He says it should continue to soften the market, the premiums on condo insurance unless you get a hurricane. Now, if you get a hurricane, I asked them, how long of a drag is there afterwards where the insurance companies need to make up for the event that occurred? And he says it's typically only about a year. So about a year or so, they will make up. So what if they got hit last year, your next one is going to go up. But should only take a year or so. But because all the competition coming in here, because now suddenly you have a much more insurable type of product because they understand it. They've studied it. You got licensed architects, licensed engineers going in there every 10 years, structural integrity reserve study, or at the 30-year mark, a milestone inspection. So basically what I'm here to tell you is, according to this gentleman, your insurance price should be going down at a condo association. And if it's not, it probably has more to do with your agent and your agent's understanding and or their willingness to share information, because remember, it's an eat what you kill business. Probably has more to do with that rather than what's going on the insurance sector side. So this gentleman recommend you basically do an update once a year of your insurance plan or your program, just to make sure that you're competitive, because this thing is changing and it fluctuates relatively quickly.
So I just ran a quick search. 2024. This is per some insurance rah site. 2024 was the first year since 2016 that Florida's domestic property insurers collectively turned a profit. Because for years they were getting slammed by hurricanes. I think 2017 there was two really bad ones on the West Coast. I think there was another one in 21. You had Surfside also in 21. So the last decade has not been nice, has not been kind to private market insurance here, which is the reason why in 2023, Citizens Insurance, which is our insurer of last resort, our not so socialist yet very socialist Florida insurance program, had 1.4 million policies. Now, just to put that into perspective, that was never the intention. The intention is actually to have as many policies as they do now. So that the peak was 2023 with 1.4 million policies. They have now, and the vocabulary word for that is depopulated. They have depopulated. They have effectively kicked people off of Citizens Insurance to the tune of about a million policies. So they're at somewhere between 450 and 500,000 policies today. I'm a victim of this, right? I own a home, and Citizen says, "Hey, we don't want you here anymore." And I say, "Why not? This is great. I don't want to pay private market prices. I want to pay government prices for my insurance." And the way the legislation is written is that if a private market insurer comes to me with a premium within 20% higher, meaning it could be 19.99999% higher, if it's within 20% higher of what I'm currently paying, I have to take it. Now, the problem with that is, and it could, for anybody, that it's all relative. It could be hundreds of dollars. It could be thousands of dollars a year. That's what that 20% could represent. But that's a teaser rate, right? Like, they're going to give you that rate for 1 year, and then it's the private market. So if there's not a lot of competition, which there hasn't been until fairly recently, then that insurer whether it's Southern Oak or there's another one called Scale, I think. They all have these funny names, whatever. They won't exist in 5 years anyway. But without a lot of competition, without ample competition, these guys, sky's the limit on premiums. So I applaud the state regulator for allowing these extra competitors to come into the market, because holy cow, I mean, if you're a property owner, single family, or condo, or condo association board member, you know it's been a painful couple years in the insurance market here.
Well, and Daniel, let me clear the record. I don't know what I said, but it's actually called admitted. So admitted is backstopped by the state, and non-admitted basically means they haven't been signed off. Okay. I wasn't sure. I don't know if I said affiliated or admitted. Yeah. So
you said affiliated, but I knew what you meant.
Yeah, admitted. So and you can say I'm not an insurance expert, but what I do know, when you pay your maintenance fee, if you're in Miami-Dade County, 20% of your maintenance fee, which on average is about $1.15 a square foot per month, 20% is going towards insurance. And
that's it. I thought it was higher.
No, it's all, well, according to First Service Residential, which manages a bunch of buildings, they came out with a study in September. And then Broward and Palm Beach County, your average maintenance is $1.02 a square foot per month on a high rise, 7 stories or more. You're paying 25%. The state, the country, the national average is 10%, just to give you an idea. So we're twice as much in Miami-Dade County, and even more in Broward and Palm Beach County related to insurance. So as that stuff pulls back, Daniel, if insurance goes down, do you think people's maintenance fees are going to go down?
I would certainly hope so. I'm winking for everybody just listening on audio. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Everybody else has raised their prices in kind, right? The janitorial services are more expensive. The gardeners are more expensive. The pool guy is more expensive. If everyone's become desensitized to higher prices, then why the heck not? And while go.
I was going to say, just real quickly, for anybody who's watching this, if you were out there looking for a condo, and that's what I do, basically, from what this insurance gentleman is saying, you want 2002 or newer. Technological advancements went into place in 2002. And watch for this also, too, people. There is a classification called Class A. Now, I'm not talking it's a trophy property. I'm talking about the construction quality and the materials used. If you are a Class A building, according to this gentleman, Peter Romeo, according to him, if it's a Class A building, you are going to fall into the lowest risk tolerance, if you will, or lowest risk from an insurer perspective. So that's a good question to ask when you're shopping for a condo.
What is that designation?
I think it's done by the building code or something related to that. But Class A is always going to be your cheapest. The amount of money it's going to cost to insure that building will always be the least, because it'll be the latest technology. But what he said, line in the sand, 2002 onward, you fall in a different category. If you're older than 2002, not just vintage, but if you're older than 2002, it's old technology, so you will be paying more. So something to keep in mind as you're shopping for condos.
That's a good tidbit for all of our buyers. While we're benchmarking and before we move on, just for the gang so they all know, average premium in Florida in 2025 is $5,695, more than double the national average of $2,466. Right? So
and for what it's worth, the insurance is based on replacement cost. So I asked him about the tariffs and the labor issues now because of the current administration. And what he says is it's recalculated every 3 years. So we might actually be in one of these periods where we're not yet experiencing the tariff. But once it recalculates, now the valuation to replace your actual building is likely to go up, because tariffs were 4% across the board in the United States on April 1st, on April 2nd, on average 17%, according to Morgan Stanley. So that will potentially work into the insurance once again.
Is the Florida insurance crisis over?
Temporarily, I'm a buy. Long term, hell no.
Long term, hell no. Temporarily, he's a buy. I'm holding, because that's just where we're at. I'm treading water right now. I welcome citizens to bring me back on, by the way, if anyone's watching up in Tallahassee. Ugo delivers on Grove Isle. Ugo, that's somebody's first name, not Hugo, but Ugo. We're missing the H. Ugo Colombo, famed developer of Santa Maria and Bristol. He's done a lot of other stuff. He owns a collection. He's been here forever, and he's got his latest groundbreaking project. It's a 65 unit, I wouldn't call it a tower. It's not a tower. It's a low rise on Grove Isle. In fact, I'm going to bring it up for the gang on the shared screen while Peter gives everybody the lowdown on the delivery.
So the one thing I will say is this brand new project, and by the way, Ugo has a reputation because the quality of the construction he builds is really, I don't want to say superior, but I can't think of a different word. He tends to build a lot of times when you look at pre-construction, you kind of have to you have to look at what a developer builds, what kind of quality, because they tend to be habitual offenders. They're repeat offenders. They keep doing it the same way over and over and over. So when you walk in a Nugo Colombo project, you're going to see great quality. You're going to see that they pay attention to all the little details. Maybe some of you are sticklers, especially if you're dropping $6 million a door. You probably want those crevices and the the drywall, the paint color. You probably want everything sanded. That's the type of quality that Ugo delivers typically with his project. He started off with the Bristol Tower came online 1993 to give you context. Coming out of what was the savings and loan crisis, he put up a condo. This is after the currency issue triggered a crash on Brickell Avenue in the 1980s. Ugo was able to put it up. He learned along the way. He built the Santa Maria, and now he's basically, I think, distinguished himself as a really good quality developer. So he just come online with this project. They took over an island, the end of an island, which was a club.
They didn't take
took it
over the
over.
whole thing.
Well, the northern or eastern, whatever direction, I guess northeast version of the island. There you go. So they took down this club and basically built this condo. The community pushed back against it. They were not happy about it, but Ugo has now gone ahead and built this project, and he set up a club. Everybody in the condo, the Vita it's called, anyone in the condo, they also are part of the club membership. And we were looking through some of the docs, or not the docs because they haven't filed their declaration of condominium yet, and they haven't begun any sales yet in terms of formally, officially, according to government records. Now, they could have begun, but they simply haven't yet been recorded. But what's interesting, Daniel, in looking at that, unit owners are part of the club, but if you miss out on your dues, Daniel, they can actually file a lien against your residential unit, even though it's the club. So I kind of find that very interesting.
Is that typical? Like Carillon, Ocean Club, Key Biscayne?
It's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know. I know like when you go into a condo.
Because like you don't have to be a member of the club at the Ocean Club. It's just like, why wouldn't you? Why would you live at the Ocean Club if you're not a member of the Ocean Club?
Yeah, well, and looking at the agreement that they just filed this month, and I was looking at Miami-Dade County clerk of the court records. This is where all the official records are. It's saying that you get membership when you purchase. I don't know if there's an extra like an equity position like you have to do in Fisher Island, but then if you fall behind, the club has the ability to lien your particular unit. So we'll have to see how it kind of plays out. But it's an interesting juxtaposition. I think Marty Margulies built most of the other towers. He had put this club in there in place, and then Ugo was able to come in there and ultimately, because there was a lot of battling going on, take over the dirt and build it. And I haven't heard any reviews yet about it, Daniel. But I'm assuming Ugo put it up, so I would probably venture to guess it probably turned out okay because he's got the battle scars. He understands the rules of engagement down here.
He's been here for a long time. I don't know what the number was, but the rumor mill says that he put something like $100 million into the infrastructure of Grove Isle.
Wow.
I mean, you're selling condos that start at $6 million. The penthouse still on the market, by the way, for $22 million in case anybody wants to buy. He won't take 17. That's just the inside baseball. And $22 million for the penthouse. I think the cheapest unit he's got left is 6.5. And there's 10 units left per the real deal. Is that what your property record said?
Property record said no sales have yet been recorded.
Oh, so they haven't closed. They got TCO.
Well, typically what a developer will do is if they have a bunch of different prices varying, they'll sit on those deeds and they'll record them all at the same time or like 30 or 60 days later. So the neighbors can't see how much they overpaid versus somebody underpaying. It's a technique. I'm not saying that's what he's done, but nothing yet has been recorded. But Daniel, what I will tell you is if you go to 27th Avenue and US 1, near where Ugo is, you got an old shitty bait shack called Crook's.
Hey! Give Shake Shack a little Crook and Crook a little credit.
All right, so you got this old school bait shop called Crook and Crook, and they have a billboard above it. And you know who's advertising, Daniel? Ugo's Vita project, and he's been advertising. So I think that will give you an indication of potentially how many sales are occurring, and maybe how many more have yet to go. Because those billboards, they are not cheap.
Yeah, but what are his margins on this frickin' thing? Didn't we say the loan was 239 million for 65 units?
Yeah, which worked out to somewhere in the ballpark about $3.6 million a door just on the loan side. You figure if the loan is what 60 to 70% of the overall development cost plus, what'd you say,
So
$6 million is the cheapest unit to get in there?
yeah, so what is that all in, like 350, 400?
Probably, yeah. So he's maybe making, I don't know, just to ballpark it out loud, I don't know, $1 million a door, 1.5 million a door.
Not bad.
No, not bad. So
I'd
let's just
take
do that.
it.
Let's call it 1.5 million. So 1.5 into 6 million. Yeah, 25%. So they're making more than that. Typically, a developer is going to make about 30%, 33% or so. If they do it really well, they're going to make 50%, just to give you an idea. So probably a million
Rough
and a half a door.
rough few years and rough forever for anybody below, what is that? I don't know, the 12th floor of Grove Isle C here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you lost your entire view. You're looking at the HVAC units of Vita. This was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
view
yeah,
before, and the view now is, well, you're looking at the backside of this guy.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but Grove Isle is very nice. Listen, by the way, I love Grove Isle, big fan of Grove Isle. It's kind of like Brickell Key, more intimate, more secure. The security gate's a real security gate. Not anybody can just walk in there and run around the island. Um, there's only three towers here. The units are fairly large. The two bedrooms, I think, are like 1,600 square feet and up. I mean, shit. You got developers now that are putting up two bedrooms at 900 feet and change. So really, I think Grove Isle is a tremendous value if you're in A. So they go from south to north, A, B, C. No, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Brickell Place. 1, 2, 3, Grove Isle 1, 2, 3, south to north. So if you're in A and you're looking south, you don't even know Vita exists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
great. And now Ugo's putting all this money into the infrastructure on the island. These marina slips, by the way, very sought after. I think last time I saw one trade, it was like a 60-foot slip traded for over $1 million.
Wow.
So yeah. Very, very sought after marina space because it's protected. It's on, you have the barrier island protecting you from any incoming weather.
But the only issue I'd say with this project is timing. I mean, it's probably going to be an excellent project. Everybody can see from the image, it looks fantastic. But what about the timing? It's always about timing. Ugo's had
Everything's
some
about timing.
success. Yeah, he's had some success with his timing. Like I said, Bristol Tower, he was the first one to go up after you had this whole issue in the 1980s when they were going ahead and they were building all these condos on Brickell, and then you had an issue with Venezuela with oil and currencies and other things. And that's how these people were able to go in there and really kind of buy at a discount. So it's all about timing. And I don't know if he's on the right side. I mean, some people are saying we're at the peak or maybe past the peak. So are you going to be able to bring people in to pay that kind of top dollar, or have we moved into a new era? Have we left the 2021 era when you could twerk on a police car and you didn't have to wear a mask and you could
Well,
work from
that
home?
was that was David Martin with Mr. C. I mean, talk about
Yes,
impeccable timing.
yes,
And
yes,
now you
yes.
have those units trading on the secondary market since they delivered last May. Well, not this past May, but about 18 months ago for 2x of pre-construction almost in some cases.
Wow.
But that's the
Yeah.
Grove, and we talk about the Grove. I feel like every other week here. The Grove is just hot, and if you want new in Coconut Grove, that's what you're going to spend. Now, if you can really show out for the $6.5 million unit of Vita, fine. But also, and need to be clear for anybody coming in from out of state, it's in Coconut Grove, but you're not really walking from Vita to Coco Walk,
No.
right? I mean, and let me pull this out a little bit. Downtown district of the Grove is here where you see Bombay Darbar. Fantastic Indian, by the way. Or what the hell do I know? It's the only Indian, by the way. And then Vita is all the way over here at this red dot. That's a solid little walk. But hey, you
It's
got
a
the
nice
club
walk.
there. It's a
It's a
nice
nice
walk.
walk. Kennedy
It's a nice
Park,
walk.
Peacock Park, all kinds of
Go
tree
get a little
foliage.
AC's Ices.
That's right. That's right.
Um, but the Grove is great. I think we'll continue to see a lot of demand for it. At $6.5 million, though, you can buy a pretty nice single family home for $6.5 million in the Grove, and you're in it.
And Daniel, here's where you get in your push pull. So no developer is going to sell out their entire project, because if they did, depending on the time of the market, they're an idiot. Why? Because once the product comes online, you can charge more for it, because some people want to simply touch it. They want to touch it, they want to feel it, they want to go through that. So typically what I see with developers is they're going to withhold 10 to 15% of a project. And those will be the units that because that's all profit typically by then. That's just they're putting it in their pocket. But sometimes, like with the Continuum South Beach, that beautiful project, well, location-wise, quality, not so much. But that project, it took them close to a decade to sell out all of the units because they wanted such premiums. So the question is, how many of these units did Ugo pre-sell and how many did he not? And, that might and is everybody going to show up at the closing? Now, granted, it's probably 50% deposits. That tends to be the norm. Yeah, there you go. You can see the Continuum 1 and 2. If you go through and look at the records there, you will see how long it took to finally burn through all the units. But the developer had made they had made their profit. And for them, it was like, okay, well, we'll do whatever we got to do, because this is house money, if you will. So I'd be curious to know what Ugo's got going on with the house money in his building. How many did he withhold? How many did he not pre-sell? And are those going to be a burden, or ultimately is he going to have to sit on them until he can sort of generate the sales necessary? So that's something to watch.
I think he'll be okay. We're seeing crazy things happen in Coconut Grove. Our boy Danny Hertzberg over at the Jills, Caldwell Banker, another record after record. Danny keeps on topping himself. $130 million in Coconut Grove, single family home, 7.4 acre site, bayfront. Reportedly went under contract this week. So Grove's hot.
Just remember though, stairs up, elevator down. I can't let everybody get too excited.
All right, Peter, Ugo delivers on Grove Isle, buy, sell, hold before we wrap it up for the gang.
I guess I would be
You're such a party pooper.
I'm not trying to be a party pooper, but I know the quality is going to be there. I just don't know if all the sales are going to be there. So I'm going to have to be a hold.
All right, Peter's holding. Ugo, I hope you prove him wrong. Everybody, this is our last show before Christmas. So happy Christmas, as they say overseas. Merry Christmas, as they say here. I hope everybody eats a lot of kahachina on the 24th. Whatever you're celebrating, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Boxing Day's coming up.
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day. Don't forget about Boxing Day. If you don't know about Boxing Day, just Google it, pals. But that's it. And while everybody else goes and pisses off on a holiday and chugs eggnog, we will be back here on December the 26th talking about, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be about Miami real estate. Peter, you have a great Friday. Everybody else, we'll talk to you later.